Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my beautiful variegated philodendron domesticum. I'm going to show you how I care for it, plus some ways to propagate it. This thing is getting absolutely massive. It's on 4 moss pole extensions right now. So let's check it out. I cannot bring the plant up on my workshop table here just because the moss poles will hit the roof. So I do have it just kind of resting on a little stool right there. But as you can see, the variegation is kind of sporadic on this one. Beautiful, beautiful leaves. Each one is different than the last for sure. So you'll get ones that have more yellow. Some will be kind of more of the speckling pattern, but this is such a beautiful variety. Now with any variegated plant, you run the risk of losing variegation, but I just want to show along the stem here, you can see it is fairly green, and then up into this area right here, you can see it starts to get some variegation along the stem, even into the petiole, and you can see that these leaves are more variegated than the ones that were lower. And I attribute that to the light, because down here the plant was probably not receiving a lot of light, but then once I added the Barena grow light right in front of it, this is where the plant is right here, then the plant started to receive higher light and the variegation definitely increased along the top of the stem here. But as it gets close to the top here, it's losing its size as well as variegation. So obviously it has reached the top of the light source. So that's why I want to chop it up, take the top cutting, put it lower in the pot, and then that way it can be receiving higher light again and hopefully achieve this higher variegation like these leaves right here. So right down here, this section right here I cut earlier today, so I wanted it to kind of callus over before I made this video. So I'm going to separate the moss poles, take the top cutting, I'll be putting it, oh, it's going to flop over. That's another issue I've been having with this this moss pole setup in this smaller pot, is it constantly wants to fall over to one side or even to fall forward. So yeah, I'm going to try and separate these moss poles right at the connection here, and I'll take the top cutting, put it in a separate pot, and then I'll be taking a bunch of node cuttings and show you how to propagate them. Now just at the back side, you can see a lot of these roots obviously grow from higher up and they grow down into the pot here, so I'm hoping it's not going to be extremely difficult to separate them. I'm just going to open up the back end of the lower pole, and I'm just going to take my utility knife and I'm just going to try and cut through as many of the roots as I can and just see if I can just pull this apart or separate it. So that's probably as good as I'm going to get it. One root right there, right at the top, and there. Oh, maybe not. What's going on? I got one more root just at the front here. There. Now we're separated. Okay, so I have the whole top section just like that. All right, they are separated. Here's the pot, and then here's the moss pole extension. I probably should have talked about the basic care first before I started chopping it up, but I just got a little excited. So for light, this plant requires probably more of that medium light, so anywhere between 200 and 500 foot candles. Right back here under the Barena grow light, it's kind of in that range. If you have it in too little of light, then you're probably going to lose variegation. The plant is going to revert back to more of the solid green leaf. It needs more chlorophyll to help photosynthesize when it's in less light. So if you're providing it higher light, just make sure, like in natural sunlight, not to give it any direct light. Otherwise you're going to scorch the leaf. But if you pull it back maybe a couple feet from a south-facing window or that sort of thing, then as long as it's in that medium kind of 250 to 500 foot candle range. If you don't have good natural sunlight, then get yourself a grow light, one of these tall vertical Barena T10 grow lights, or even a Soltec pendant or track system. There's many different options out there. They do extremely well under grow lights. Now for watering, I pretty much let this get bone dry, like maybe 90% dry, before I give it some water. There's been plenty of times where I check on it and all the leaves are drooping, so I rush over to the bathroom. I use my garden hose, give it a good soaking to the moss bowl as well as to the pot. I want to make sure that all the soil is completely saturated, and then basically let it get almost completely dry again before giving it any water. For pretty much all of my houseplants, I've been using the VeryPlants aerated mix. I do have a discount code in the description if you're in Canada and the US. You want a very airy mixture, something well draining, just because it provides good airflow to the roots as well. A lot of times it'll be difficult to use like a digital moisture meter in this type of mix. So what I like to use is just a bamboo skewer. You just put it in the pot, push it all the way down to the bottom, let it sit there for a few seconds. And when I pull it out of the pot, there is some soil sticking to the skewer, and I can actually see the moisture lines. So from right about here, so it's about 3/4 like moist or damp. So I know I watered this the other day, and you can see it does look like it's been well watered. This is just an easy, cheap way to determine whether the soil lower in the pot is dry or wet. This is what I use for fertilizer. It is the Foliage Pro. It's now Super Thrive Foliage Pro. I can't really find this anywhere in Canada except on Amazon, and it's the smaller, I think it's like a 8-ounce bottle. I'm trying to conserve what I have right now. So for nutrients, you just mix this up in water, and you can water the moss pole and the soil. I've been trying to maybe do it every other watering. What I would normally do is dilute this a little bit and then water with every watering, but now it's been kind of every other watering. For pest issues, the only pests I've really had are thrips. I'll get the top portion there just to show you what thrip damage looks like. So right here, I'm not too sure if this is like extra floral nectaries or if this is actual pest damage. It feels a little sticky, so I'm maybe thinking it's extra floral nectaries. Right here is suspicious of thrips. You can see the little kind of silvery streaking patterns. I haven't found any thrips on this plant for a while, but this is definitely thrip damage. So if you see any sort of streaking like that or kind of silvery lines, then this is, it definitely has thrips. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this plant out of the pot because I don't have another one like this and I want to reuse it. I'll be chopping up the rest of these nodes here to make new plants. So I'm just going to pull this one out of the pot. It's actually got a ton of roots here as well. You can see fairly large root system. All I'm going to do for this one is just simply place it at the bottom of the pot. And I'm just going to dump in the rest of this old soil here. Reusing that because that stuff is expensive. I try and reuse as much as I can. You know, obviously if your plant is severely, or if it has severe root rot and the roots are all just falling off, then normally I don't reuse it. I might just put it in a little bin and let it dry out and use it for some like outdoor plants or something like that. But I always try and angle my moss poles slightly to the back, because if you have it straight, like vertical, then a lot of times as the plant grows, it's just going to pull the plant forward with time as it gets heavier and grows larger. I'm not going to give this one any water right now just because I did water it the other day, and the moss pole is still relatively damp, so I think we'll be okay for now. Now I am packing it down pretty snug. There are no roots in the soil, so I'm not worried about damaging any of the roots. I just want this pole to remain upright. Now for the mother plant, the bottom section here, you can totally keep this just in a pot and it'll activate these nodes lower along the stem. Very similar to what happened with my Syngonium chia pens. I made a prune right here. It activated this node right here and it's getting a new growth point. It's got 2 beautiful little leaves, but also activated nodes lower along the stem. So it activated this one, and you see there's a growth point poking out through there. So this will be another new stem, and then I have another growth point down there. And this is an example right here from another philodendron, which I've propagated just as a single node. So here's a leaf, here's a section of the stem, the node, and it's already sprouted a new growth point. This will grow into an entirely new vine, and it'll produce multiple leaves as it continues to grow. I'm going to start at the top here because this leaf does have some variegation. So I'm just looking along the stem here. You can see there's some nice variegation kind of in the middle section. But all I'm going to do is just take individual node cuttings. So obviously there is going to be some roots along this portion of the stem. But all you want to do is cut in between two nodes. So here's a node, and cut in between like that. So this will grow into an entirely new plant. Just going to see if I can find the node or the growth point. It's right here. It's usually kind of like a round or oval structure close to the node. And then obviously here's the petiole where it attaches to the node, and then here's the aerial root. So this is where a new growth point will kind of pop out from. And then I'm just going to go along other portions of the stem. I'm going to try and salvage some of these roots and then take some more cuttings like here. So here will be another plant. It's got a little section of roots right there. Here is the growth point or the growing eye right there. 3 nodes for the soil, 3 for moss, and then 3 for perlite. This is my new perlite prop box. This is a Costco rotisserie chicken container. I figured this would be a perfect prop box just because it has a higher lid, so the leaves can grow quite a bit taller than some of my other prop boxes. So I'm going to start off with the prop box. I did cut off the leaf on one of the larger sections of the stem there, and I've separated them to larger, smaller, and medium for each of the propagations, just to kind of keep it somewhat similar. So for my perlite prop boxes, I often get questions quite a bit about how to set up and do the prop box. So really quick, all I use is just straight perlite. I basically soak the perlite and then I'll drain out all the water. You want to make sure that there's no standing water at the bottom, and then when you have it covered up, that there is condensation on the lid. If it dries up, I simply just mist the top of the perlite, and then I put the lid back on. This one has little holes at the top, but I've put them in the closed position. I rarely open the perlite prop box, so you don't really need it open to air or anything like that. And then all I simply do is take these little aerial roots and just push the nodes or the cuttings down into the perlite like that, and then just put the lid on, set it and forget it, put it in a nice kind of bright area, and yeah, it'll do the work. It'll know what to do. Now for the soil ones, I did label these plastic cups. I get these cups from the dollar store. I slice out just a little portion of the bottom there so excess water can drain out, and then I use it kind of as like a cache pot. So I'm just going to add some soil in the bottom, and then I'm just going to just place these just slightly down into the soil, and I might cover them up just a little bit. And I want that growth point or growing eye to be facing upwards. Just going to push those down, and then I might add a little bit of soil just around the edges, just to kind of cover them up a bit. Hopefully these work, because I'll be providing some updates in this video, so we'll check back probably in maybe 3 weeks or so, just to see if there's any development. So I'm just going to put that in there like that. I'm going to give this one some water here in a minute, and then same thing with the moss. I'm just going to add some moss into the cup. I did soak this, so I'm just squeezing the moss and then keeping it nice and fluffy in the cup like that. And then I'm going to put these cuttings in there, pushing down the moss around some of these roots like that. And then same thing, I'm just going to cover some of these cuttings up just slightly and just pushing them down a little bit. Just making sure that they're all covered. Maybe something like that. And then I'll just use this just to hold in some of the humidity as well. You can add a little bit of water to the bottom if you want. For right now, I'm just going to water this one and then I'll set them aside. Okay, give it a good thorough soaking. You can see all the water drains out the bottom of the cup and then it sits in this little cache pot, something like that. And same with the moss. And then here's those little dome things. They look like little ice cream tops. I don't even know where I got these from. I think they were from plants that I ordered online, so I just kept them in my little cabinet, and that works perfect for keeping in the humidity. Hopefully we have some updates and not some rotten cuttings, but I'm curious to see if the moss, the soil, or the perlite has any effect on the overall growth from the growth point or the growing eyes. Now that brings us to present day. It is April 13th, I believe. I took these cuttings January 26th, so they've been rooting in their containers for about a month and a half. So I will pop the tops here and we'll show what they currently look like. I did take some footage kind of along the way just showing the process, but instead of having this video long and drawn out as it's already pretty long, I'll just insert some little clips about the, or showing the growing eyes on each of the moss, the aroid mix, as well as the perlite prop box. So let's open these up and see if there's any one method that was better than the other in regards to the growth rate and leaf size and all that kind of stuff. These plants were all kind of positioned together. They were on a heat mat under a grow light. So let's check it out. Okay, get these lids off. So starting with the aroid mix, they all have new growth and it looks like they're starting on their second leaves. This one, it looks like it's gone like pretty much all yellow. There's no real definitive variegation. I don't know if it's just like an all green leaf, and it's yellow because of like the highlight. It was under like a very bright light, grow light. So I don't know if it's just kind of bleached out from higher light or if it's like all yellow or all green, but there's no real like definitive variegation patterns like there is on the moss one. You can see it is a lighter green just because, like I said, it was under high light, so they definitely got a bit more bleached, but this one has some incredible variegation on all of the nodes and all of the leaves. They have beautiful, beautiful variegation, but this one doesn't. And going on over to the perlite prop box, these ones, they're looking pretty sad. I did check the perlite prop box a couple times, but the perlite, probably because it was on a heat mat, it essentially cooked the cuttings. I don't usually use a heat mat with a perlite prop box, but these ones, they got super, super dry, and I tried to water it, but it looks like it was maybe a little bit too late. I'm assuming it has stunted the growth, but I'm going to add some more water to the perlite because, again, it's pretty dry. The nodes are still viable or salvageable, but there's definitely some very, very small leaves on there. So I'm not too optimistic about these cuttings surviving. I don't even know what this plant is here, but I just put a few other cuttings in there. But these two have done exceptionally well, and some beautiful variegation on this. The green, the chlorophyll, will darken up once it's removed from like higher light. So if I put it in kind of that medium light setting or less light, then the green part should darken up definitely. And same with this one. So that's kind of the update with these node cuttings. And let's check out the roots. So some nice roots in the cup here as well. So the moss has done really, really well. The only problem with propagating cuttings in moss is when you take it out of the pot, if you put it in a different growing medium like an aroid mix, and it's a little bit tricky to remove all of the moss from the roots. That's why I like propagating in soil. Definitely not as many roots along the side of the cup with the soil one. Just gonna see if they're all fairly well, maybe not. I was gonna say they're all fairly well rooted, but this one's coming out. It's got a root right there. I find a lot of times when they're in these high humidity containers, it'll start to push out growth, and then along the new growth, it'll push out all the new roots. So yeah, these roots don't look like they're new roots. It looks like there was maybe the existing ones, but I'll just, yeah, same with this one. It's maybe got a little bit of new roots, but anyways, if you don't see any like substantial root growth on the existing node, it'll probably come out of the new growth point. So I'm just going to put these back in, put the tops back on, and I'll let them continue to grow. I'm probably going to be selling these ones. I'm going to put it on Facebook Marketplace or something because I don't need all of these cuttings. This was simply an experiment. So I'll see if there's any takers with this one. But I hope you found this video useful. I really wish my perlite prop box did a lot better, but that's my fault. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching all my videos. Take care, everyone. Bye.